So for our main topic tonight, we were going to talk about the storyline. We're going to pick kind of a big, broad topic tonight to talk about. And since we have a new co-host on, we might have a little bit more feedback. I had talked about the went over some of my thoughts about the storyline that we had drops that we've been given, and since then we've heard a couple more things about the storyline. So we're going to be discussing the storyline and what we would like to see and how we would like to see it released. We learned from the AMA that they had on Facebook. By the way, if you haven't seen that, I know there's a link on Reddit that you can. I'll try to post a link to our Facebook page to the AMA. It's about a 30-minute video, and they answer a bunch of different types of questions. But one of the things we learned was that they're going to be releasing storyline in packs. So that, when a pack drops, they're going to have a storyline with it or release it online, I believe was what they said. And then in between packs, there's going to be a storyline. So I'm thinking every other week at this point. And they wanted the storyline to be less focused about this omnipresent big bad guy like the Shadowlands, and
Yeah.
more focused on the difference between the duty of a samurai, the life of living as a samurai versus the personal, being true to yourself, being true to your are you true to your samurai, or are you true to you, and the conflicts that come behind that. So it's a lot more of a personal story from what they're kind of hinting or alluding at. And
They're, they weren't the ones that were noticed the most, but AEG did have a really good habit of dropping those kinds of storylines on their website
hmm,
back in the day. A couple of years ago, even, I would go back and I would read the story of a Lion Clan samurai who just happened to be walking through a field with a lady he liked, and suddenly, like, the undead showed up or something, and it was a really great slices of life of Rokugan.
I think that's what made people kind of invested in the characters too. Right? I
Yeah.
didn't get invested in these big, gigantic things. I first started on what got me excited about the storyline for the game was I had read these little objective snapshots. I've never been one for reading much fiction, like big,
Hmm.
fictional pieces. And so, like, I would read these in the back of the clan books. They had these profiles of the characters, the famous characters like Matsugohai. And that was the
Oh
first
yeah.
character when I bought the line book. I was like, "Oh, Matsugohai! I want to see what's up with this dude." And they had this like objective, like third person. This is Matsugohai and what he's doing, and that was what started getting. And I started reading all of them, every personality, and that's really what got me invested into the characters. Was their personality? What personal conflicts are they having? What's their personal story? And I got tired
Yeah.
of it after a while, because you'd get these sets of 300, 400 cards or whatever the sets were. I think they were like 250, 300 cards every 4 months,
Yeah.
and you'd have like all these personalities, and none of them would have a story. It's like, what's this dude's story? I don't know. He's just the dude. He's like the 4 force range 4 attack guy, for the pack or
Yeah.
whatever. So, but what do you think about them in a broad context? Starting first, what do you think about Rokugan being reset and the storyline and what they've shown us in the little snippets, and kind of what are your thoughts on that? Where they're setting the storyline and what they're doing with each of the clans so far.
So I'm gonna backtrack a little bit here.
Okay.
I have this thing where I love stories. You give me a television show, a movie, whatever. I don't care how many explosions you got unless they help the story. I don't care about any of that stuff. I love somebody who sits down and tells me a great story from beginning to end.
Yeah.
And with the 2 year story arcs, that's what we got. We got a great story from beginning to end.
Hmm.
But every single show or franchise or anything like that, they always fall into the same trap where they always feel like they have to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
When Rokugan got too big, I didn't care about the Senpet Empire. I didn't.
There's the Burning Sand,
The
the
sec
Burning Legions.
the
They're
like the Burning Sands, the Senpet Empire, all that stuff, the
gotcha.
Second City. I just didn't care. I wanted to know about Rokugan.
Yeah. Okay.
And when the stories, it's almost like they ran out of things to do inside their own home. They
Hmm.
just they It's so hard to explain my frustration when I'm reading a story about an empire I could really care less about.
Well, I think what happened, and
So, well, sorry, I paused.
no, go ahead. Sorry.
So this idea of a hard reset, I love the idea of a hard reset.
Gotcha.
And I really just hope that after the hard reset resets, that they don't fall into that same trap 10, 15 years later, where suddenly we're dealing with problems that are so big that players have. I don't want to lose interest, in other words, because suddenly we're traveling across the globe and conquering other nations, and I just.
Yeah, I agree with you that the storyline's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, right? Not like big from my point of view, what I saw, right? And the reason why I like the reset so much, the idea of the reset, was you had the Day of Thunder, and that was the
Yeah,
big thing, right? You just save the universe. Fuck
Day of Thunder
yeah,
was
yeah, go home.
huge.
Band of seven, go home, then you disappear off to the sunset or whatever.
Kachiko and her poison needles, which they retconned.
But you had this big storyline, and most people didn't
We
even have a
earned
chance.
that.
Well, somebody did.
Yeah, yeah. It wasn't me. I
but
wasn't playing in tournaments at that point. I was nowhere near good enough.
but you had this gigantic storyline, right? And the
Yeah,
big thing, and then what? Then like most people didn't even have a chance to play. Who played in L5R didn't have a chance to be at the Day of Thunder, right? Because
yeah.
the game's been around for 20 years now, so like, and that was the first 2 year, 4 year, was it 4 year story with the 4 years of the storyline that they had the Day of Thunder.
It
So,
was a long time. I don't have the date. I don't know.
but it was
It was.
really recent. Like it was like early in its history, and then they did the biggest thing possible. So now they have this
Mhm.
glass ceiling, right? And my problem wasn't so much with the going, the exploring other aspects of the universe or the world, right? I actually found that like to be pretty cool because I always wondered, had questions. I actually played Burning Sands, the card game, and I actually liked a lot of aspects and elements from the card game story. You know what I mean? And them sort of involving it here and there was cool to me.
Yeah, but that
But
was a separate game entirely. It had different mechanics. It was it was
well, just hear me out.
separate, but still part of it. I had no real problem with the idea of the Burning Sands
Yeah,
because they didn't take the Burning Sands and incorporate it into L5R. They
yeah.
mentioned it.
My problem was a bit more along the lines of them coming up with these one wacky bad guy after the next, right, kind of thing. And they could never really completely match. I mean, they had Aiichiban, and I guess Aiichiban's a pretty cool bad guy when you really start thinking about it. But they
Yeah.
whacked the Colat pretty early, like in the storyline. And then they had the Shadow Dragon, which I thought was pretty cool. But then they had like they had a conspiratorial bad guy. They had Chagatai for a while because they tried to bring it back more into the Rukugani thing. And um, it's just like kind of like one. It seemed like it wasn't cohesive because they had to kind of organically create the storyline to try to make up for the fact that they already did these two gigantic things. Because after the Hidden Emperor, after WotC had it, they did the like we defeated non-existence.
Yeah.
What's cooler than that, right? So it kind of progressed. And I like the fact that they reset the storyline because it gives them the chance to take all that material that they had, right, as far as because they've explored a lot of space in the universe so far, right, in the old
Hmm.
storyline. So they could take all that space that they kind of have there as far as ideas and make it more cohesive. Make it more fit better so it doesn't seem so haphazardly just throwing things out just so because they need to make storyline tournaments.
Yeah.
So, and I'm really enjoying that. Plus, they're focusing more on the internal conflicts right off the bat, and I think they're probably going to focus on that for quite some time. They're not going to have necessarily a big uber bad guy like they did in the old
I,
storyline.
I think I would. I don't have a problem with the idea of an uber bad guy. The idea of Fu Lang being the evil bad actually worked really well for me
Hmm.
until they defeated him.
Yeah, until they got rid of him, right?
He was always this thing in the background, which some players embraced and many players didn't. And it was always just kind of this underwhelming terror that all of Rokugan had to live under. And it
Yeah,
really added just this kind of reason to fear evil. Because evil lived outside your border. It was right there. You stand on the wall, you stare at them as they attack every Tuesday at 3 p.m. It was, I
or
mean,
3 a.m. for that matter. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's just, they're there. And then after the death of Fu Lang, you had what did I don't quite
They had the
remember the storyline because
shadow.
like I said I kind of got out of it. After that they had the Shadowlands Civil War
Well,
where the
they had the
Oni and the
shadow, the
yeah,
ninjas, the shadow taking over the empire and
yeah,
abducting the emperor, and then there was everybody was in chaos and but like the old storyline,
yeah,
I
that was after I got out of the game originally because
I
the
think it's
last major piece of storyline that was in the game while I was playing
uh
was when Yakumo became the sun, and what is her name from the Dragon Clan?
Hitomi.
She Hitomi became the moon, and then apparently they retconned that as well. I was told.
No, they didn't retcon that. They in the storyline they had them come back. They had a lot of wacky stuff in the old storyline. So basically, the sun, they decided to. Well, they didn't retcon it in the way that it didn't happen. They retconned it in the way they had them fall down. They were involved with the storyline for a little while. That was largely when I was out of the game.
Yeah,
Um,
me as well.
and then apparently they had the sun and the moon taken over by different. I think it was like dragons or something. Like and hiding Yakumo, and they finished off that storyline. I largely
Yeah.
didn't like what they did with that stuff either. I like what they did with this though. Like, and I really hope that they really kind of don't focus on like doing like solving these universal like I like the
Hmm.
fantasy elements of Rokugan, right? I think
I
they
want to see. I want to see heroes being heroic, but not world shaking.
yeah, I don't want Guardians of the Galaxy in the Asian universe.
Yeah,
Like
I want more. I want more Daredevil. I want more Daredevil, less Superman. You know.
and it looks like they're going to try to focus on that. I mean, they're going to have these
Mhm.
bigger storylines, obviously. I really hope that they integrate them in more of a focused way, and it seems largely that seems to be their intent.
Mhm.
At least from what they've told us, and to a little bit, I don't think we have too much fiction to tell. I mean, we only have one fiction, so we really don't know yet. But what
Well,
do you?
I'm gonna keep playing.
Oh yeah,
They've. I mean, they can send Rokugan to the moon to fight aliens. I think I'd still be playing. Oh, please don't take that to heart. That was not a suggestion. But it's
that would be
oh
a
man, it's a
fan made
thing.
role playing supplement.
I
Like
I hope
Rokugan
not.
and
I hope
aliens.
not. I hope not.
So, what do you think about the element of the Shadowlands in the? I mean, as a crab player, especially. I mean, it's going to be undoubtedly involving. Your the crab clan is going to be involved in the Shadowlands stuff. What do you want to see out of the Shadowlands in the element? Being if it doesn't, it's like a bad guy, but you want to see more of this down to earth, gritty, personal storylines or whatever.
I want to see a Shadowlands faction at some point. Just because I think after the Shadowlands became a more visceral threat to the actual players of the game,
Hmm.
that's when the Crab Clan really kind of stood up in the card game and said, "No, we are actually awesome." Because up until that point in the card game, it was the Crab Clan Crane Clan war, at which point players had to choose sides: Dirty Crab, High Crane, and you didn't really get to see how what the Crab Clan did. The Crab Clan were not the defenders of the wall, the defenders of Rokugan. They were an internal enemy.
Yeah, just kind of seemed like instead of being just like really high force,
Hmm.
Lion Clan guys who were slower and more expensive, they actually had an
Yeah.
identity that they came out a little bit more when they introduced Shadowlands. Or I think not necessarily with the Shadowlands. I think that really, and you're gonna hate this. I think that was really as they kind of evolved the identity of the Shadowlands away from the random zombies. I didn't like
Mm.
Yoga. I liked Yogo Jinzo, like the
Well, I didn't,
character.
but
I didn't like
but I
Yogo Jinzo's army, because the
yeah,
random zombie horde has never been really interesting to me. So,
but yeah, they
uh,
need to do it properly. They need a good Shadowlands faction, but they need a Shadowlands faction at some point. I didn't like Yogo Junzo because when I play Scorpion, I play the Yogo family.
yeah,
They're my Yogo.
get a little butthurt about that.
Um, what was that?
Get a little butthurt about that.
Yeah, a little. But well, I didn't fall in love with the Yogo family until the Scorpion Clan book came out in the L5R roleplay game, and
Gotcha.
that was after the card game, after Yogo Genzo's army became a thing, because the roleplay game didn't come out until '98, I
Yeah,
think, '97, somewhere in that window. Um, and that was after I'd already been playing the card game for a year or two.
yeah.
But as I was saying before we both got sidetracked,
That's
I
okay.
want to see a Shadowlands faction, but until then, I want to see corruption.
Yeah, I want to see.
But
That leads into what I was gonna say about the Shadowlands. Like I want to see them not just do corruption. I want them to like change the way corruption. I want them to fundamentally. I had issues, big
mm,
fucking issues with the way corruption was in the Shadowlands taint and Shadowlands corruption worked to a large degree in the old storyline because it was like a disease. It was like Ebola. It's like
yeah,
I'm walking through the Shadowlands. Oh shit! I got Shadowlands taint. Better go to Planned Parenthood or something. Like I mean,
I
but
think
like I want to see
you
more of
know
an
what I would
internal.
love. You know what I would love to see.
Hmm.
I would love to see Shadowlands Taint in the game as a personal choice by the player. Like it's a mechanic.
Oh, like
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 like you can you can gain Shadowlands Taint to get more cards instead of honor.
yeah,
Instead of using your honor wheel, you can use Shadowlands Taint. I mean, just as a general throw out idea. Something like that. Something that I as the player will take on
hmm,
this thing which will negatively affect me in late game
yeah.
right now at the beginning to gain this distinct advantage.
How would you like to
Maybe,
see that portrayed? Because the mechanics of the game are gonna be thematic, right?
yeah,
With what's going on in the story. So by that, do you want to see Shadowlands Taint be more of a personal choice within the characters in the storyline, or something?
maybe like the idea that some character, if you have so much Shadowlands taint, then it requires more. It allows you to get cards from your Fate deck, but now it requires more influence to bring characters into play who aren't Shadowlands tainted themselves.
Hmm.
Something like that might be interesting.
That would be
Like
cool.
I got a character here, he doesn't have the Shadowlands trait, therefore to bring him into play requires an extra influence per Shadowlands trait I currently possess.
Wow.
So something like that. That sounds interesting because then it's like, how badly do I need a fourth card in my hand?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I, I like as far as how the Shadowlands mechanics in the game are portrayed. I would like to see something that was more like you have a sensei or something you attach to a card that you attach to your stronghold that says I because like one of the problems I had mechanically is like what qualifies as a tainted deck, right?
Hmm.
As a Shadowlands deck, and I have a big issue with it because in the old game and like you'll hear me rant about this a million times, but they completely corrupted the lion, right? Based off this qualification of what was considered a corrupt deck, right? Or
Do you,
corrupt players or corrupt choices. So I want to
would you
see
like
that
to know why
difference.
I have zero sympathy for you?
Hmm. Why is that?
In the early days, those storyline decisions were taken directly out of what you Lion Clan players were doing in tournaments.
Oh yeah, because they were winning tournaments.
Yeah, you saw those huge Oni and you went, "Ooh, that'd be awesome." And I got a deck that moves so quickly, I can get that Oni out.
Yeah, I just
The
want
next thing you
to.
know, you got a Lion Clan deck and Oni no Subaru is breathing down my neck, and I'm all like, "Ah, I hate your face." So, no, no sympathy. And you Phoenix players, at the beginning of the game, all y'all. You ruined all your elemental masters. What were you thinking?
Hey, I like that stronghold. That was a great
Like
stronghold.
all but one of the elemental masters fell to the Shadowlands. I mean, come on.
Oh yeah, it's the Phoenix. Come on. You know they're supposed
Yeah,
to
I
be like
realize
dark,
that, but
evil things, and then be like,
you
oh well,
you
we screwed up. I guess we gotta burn it
you
all.
you've managed not to fall to the Shadowlands for 1,000 years, but now suddenly because an
Shh.
outside force, i.e., the players, is
No
now
one
controlling your
knows
destiny.
that they fell to the Shadowlands. All right,
Oh, they
like
did. Oh yeah,
the
no,
secret
I know.
libraries and all. They take care of their own up there. I hear.
Yeah, yeah.
S-
Secret libraries.
s- sneaky Phoenix. That's where the Yoko came from. So I would
Yeah,
like
I
to
know.
see person going back onto the thing. I would like to see personal like Shadowlands in the storyline be represented as a personal choice,
Yeah.
as a personality flaw. I would like the dark side kind of
Hmm.
element, where it's more of this tugging at disharmony and all the things that create and maintain Rokugan as a society. The
Yeah.
codes of Bushido and the celestial order and the adherence of people to those things, right?
Yeah, but how could that possibly be a game mechanic?
I don't know. Like how as
Yeah.
far as the game mechanics go, I'm pretty sure they'll have something. I mean, we know
Yeah,
we're
oh,
gonna
yeah.
have Shadowlands in the story, right? They have a Shadowlands army marching towards the Crab Wall, so we're gonna have Shadowlands,
Well,
you
you
know.
have to. I mean, if you don't put Shadowlands and Rokugan, then you're going to have an angry mob of nerds,
Well, I mean, in more meaningful
myself
way.
included.
I mean,
Myself included. You're going to have an
yeah.
angry mob of nerds burning down FFG buildings. It's not good.
Yeah, like I think that more than meaningful than just having it as a footnote in the story, like actually having a
Yeah.
presence in the storyline and being affected, because that's one element that was always the biggest element between storyline decisions, constantly. I mean, even going back to the first Day of Thunder, where they had a big celebration when they ripped up the Shadowlands scroll or whatever. So for those
Yeah.
of you who don't know, when they had the Day of Thunder, they didn't initially, from my understanding of it, the story, they didn't really initially anticipate L5R going on beyond the Day of Thunder for too much. So they wrote these big endings to the Day of Thunder. Each one was an envelope for each clan, depending on who won, right? And it was basically
Hmm.
who becomes the emperor, who controls the empire, and saves the empire, or whatever. And Shadowlands Horde, or our Yogujutsu's army, was a faction. It was the Shadowlands faction, and when they got booted out of the tournament, I guess they didn't make the cut or something. Um, there was no option for them to win tournament, so they ripped it up, and there was a big celebration because everybody was like, "Oh my!" Because there was an opportunity for the Shadowlands actually take over the Empire, um, and that was always a thing that was in everybody's mind for those storyline achievements. Since then, I guess maybe because of it was the Shadowlands winning a big tournament, and really taking over and having this dark time arise out of that. So
I, I, I personally love the idea of there being a Shadowlands faction in the card game, and if they keep on with the idea of players affecting the storyline through tournaments, I really do want to see the option of, after 4 years, you end up with another Day of Thunder-esque storyline.
mm,
I realized earlier I said I don't want the world to get too big, and I don't. But I would love to have this,
a,
because that's what made L5R fantastic in the beginning, is we knew what we were building up to. We knew
yeah,
what we were going to. And we were going to this great battle, which happened, and it was great. It was not anticlimactic. It was everything I, as a player, expected to be. And I was, as a player, viscerally afraid that a Shadowlands player was going to take this thing.
Yeah.
That's what made it real to me. And it was fantastic because I knew that the guy sitting across the table from me, if he won enough tournaments, this was going to end badly for the storyline.
Hmm.
My other thing was, I kind of hope they do that again. I do. Because I'm hoping that at the end of the day, or at the end of this great big story arc, there's a reason, an actual reason to show up at a tournament and go, no, we must defeat these people.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm not going to show up to a giant national tournament if we're just deciding who gets the thumbs up from the emperor this year.
Yeah. I don't think they're going to demean it. That I mean, like for the first Gen Con, there's rumors that it will be the storyline prize for Gen Con will be something revolving around the Emerald Champion, maybe who gets it
Mm-hmm.
or something. That's the kind of the thought process based on the fiction. But I think that they're definitely it's a Shadowlands option, basically a corrupt option or some sort of thing for giving people a reason to fight against or work against is something you would like to see, right?
Yeah, something I want there to be a big bad. I just don't want them to go overboard with the idea of a big bad every major
Yeah.
storyline.
And I think they're
I,
showing a lot of restraint, honestly. Like in their not just the way they've released these things,
mhm.
but they kind of like where they set and the fact that they started off the story very subtly, and kind of making those focuses. So I think there's hope, you
I
know.
also don't want them to demean the big bad.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't I don't want them to kill the big bad, and I don't want the big bad to be put on the back. You watch any show long enough, any major television show, you have the big villain for the first two seasons, and next thing you know, he becomes almost a sidekick, a joke character.
yeah.
I need that not to happen.
Well,
Because the Shadowlands were always just this thing that loomed over your heads. You may be playing for supremacy in the court today, but you know
mhm.
that this thing is out there, and I need that fear to exist in the storyline.
Yeah, I would like it too. I would like to have some sort of element of danger. I would like to be more internal,
Hmm.
like within the clans and kind of keep the focus there. And even though I hated the corrupt lion, thing, and that was the product of a certain portion of the people who played lion who won tournaments, who wanted to make that decision.
Yeah,
I still want that option there. You know what I mean? To kind of reinforce identity, if anything, and give people an option. They don't have to necessarily play this one aspect of a clan, as it were. So okay,
yeah.
we're getting on about an hour now. Was there anything else that we wanted to before we wrap up or do anything you wanted to
Well,
say?
okay. So,
Like final thoughts?
final thoughts. The only thing I'm really worried about with the storyline is the fact that they're going to get too big. But I already mentioned that a couple times. I've discussed it ad nauseum.
Hmm.
I I I want to I just want to make sure that new players understand that this is a hard reset, and no matter what the old guard says,
Hmm.
their opinion is just as valid. Because I know what we are like as fans of this game, and I know that especially with the Imperial Assembly and picking a clan and being like rabid, diehard, I will bite you fans.
You've shown us.
Um, I have, and I've met people like me, and I understand how annoying I can be with new players. So I want to put out there that if you're just now getting into this game, if you are just now discovering it, your opinion is just as valid. This is a hard reset. You get to rebuild your clan, and feel free to tell the old players to shut the hell up.
Yeah.
This is no longer just our game, and we need to learn how to share it with you. And if that involves you telling us that, so be it. Please,
Yeah, I
feel
think
free.
I think everybody has to come to terms with a lot of the old players have to come to the terms with this is a new game and it's going to
Yeah,
have new and the storyline is going to be different in a lot of ways. Some ways more than some, right? And the way the storyline is decided is going to be different because FFG is going to be different with the way it handles its communities, right? And
Hmm.
that could be good or bad. And I think we need to have an open mind, but I also think we need to be kind of come to terms with the refresh, and not to be the stodgy beardy types. You know what I mean?
I'm I've decided I'm going to come at this new game as if it is a brand new, off the shelf game that I've just decided I'm going to love before I see it.
There you go. There you go.
I have no expectations one way or the other. I've looked at some of the game mechanics.
Hmm.
I have no idea what they mean because, like I said, I can't read rules.
Well, we'll
It's
be
just a
going
thing.
over a lot of that too. Like
But
as the weeks go on, you'll by the time Gen Con hits, you'll know.
yeah, well, I better. I'm planning on being at Gen Con.
Yeah.
The entire family is taking a road trip from where we live on the West Coast near the
Oh.
Pacific Ocean. In case people don't know where we live, I'm not actually telling you. It's an entire coast. Feel free to guess. All the way to
No,
Indianapolis.
yeah, I've never like I know a little about it.
Yay. Road trip.
No, so okay. Well, there you go. I pretty much think I've said it pretty much everything I've said. And I agree with the new player thing. Like
Yeah.
the new game thing, the new storyline. Uh,
Hmm.
but I'm really excited to see how they might. I think the only thing I would add on top of this all is I would like to see the storyline be more accessible than it used to be. Um, it's I want to see more like this is Rokugan and just kind of breakdowns of what the storyline was. I think that's one
Hmm.
of my biggest pet peeves with the old storyline was there's hundreds of these fictions, so you were forced to go to the role playing books. And I
Yeah.
want them to see them do something like they did in Netrunner. So I don't know if you know, but like in Netrunner, they had like so many people were interested in the world of that card game because it has a world but it doesn't have a storyline necessarily.
Yeah.
That they created a worlds of Netrunner book. I would like to see some. I mean, even if I have to purchase it, I don't care. I'll buy swag. I don't care. But I would
Well, I
like to
mean,
see some sort of breakdown so people can get into it pretty easily, so we can
well, I
get
mean,
to.
in the early days of L5R, your only options were the little tiny short story at the end of the rule book per set,
Yeah.
and you had a different story in each clan box, so you had to collect all of them. It was very
Yeah.
painstaking. The clan books, which were by far the best source of the storyline, and if you were willing to trudge through them, the clan novels. If you have
Mm.
not yet read the clan novels, I recommend reading the Scorpion Clan novel and
Mm.
nothing else. They were
I,
terribly written.
I didn't mind them. They're okay. It's kind of popcorn fiction for me back then because the writing wasn't
Yeah,
too involved, but it was okay. It's are easy reads, that's for sure.
yeah.
So, all right. Well,
I read the Scorpion, I read the Unicorn. I got halfway through the Crane, and then I
ah,
stopped spending money on them.
yeah. I think I
And
did
that's
too.
saying something because I bought Clan War.
There you go. Well, all right. So, going on, and for the closing, so we're going to be doing an email, reading emails off and responses. We want to hear back from the people who are listening and watching in. And so what would you reimagine? What do you want to see out of the storyline? What elements, if you're an old player, what elements from the old storyline would you reimagine? How would you do it differently? If you're a new player coming into this game, what do you see and what would you like to see? What would be some interesting directions to take the storyline, maybe, and maybe your thoughts about what would make it more accessible, or what sort of ideas about how to release the storyline. Just general thoughts on that. You can email us for all our information. Is if go to Facebook, we're at West Destiny Has No Secrets on our Facebook. You can Facebook us at L5R Destiny Cast. Our Gmail is L5R DestinyCast at gmail.com. We have a Discord server, which you can find the link to on the Facebook page, which is L5R DestinyCast. And our YouTube channel is L5R DestinyCast, you can also listen to us anytime at L5R DestinyCast on SoundCloud.com. So Uh, Thanks for watching, and see you next. Looks for you next week. Welcome, Ginger Jesus, onto our new podcast journey, and we'll next week we'll be going over the Crane client previews and another topic. We'll be talking about some more stuff. So thank you for tuning in, and you have a great day.
I will. I'm about to go to work now.
Yeah. Where are Destiny knows secrets?
All right. Have a good day, folks.
Bye.
Be good to yourselves out there.